Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over a list of supplies that I think you probably ought to have with you. Almost like a 12-hour emergency bag, for lack of a better word. These are supplies you probably want to have on you if you're going to be out there hunting in the late afternoon or early evening hours. Now I am aware that a lot of you are hunting more than ever at night because of technology. There are a lot of really good daytime, nighttime scopes out there. And if you're hunting at night, that means you're likely, more than ever, to get lost at night. Don't feel bad if it happens to you. Happens to some really good people. And if you start talking to a few people at any sporting goods store you go to, you'll find that it's happening a lot. So these are the supplies I recommend that you have on you at all times if you're going to hunt in the late afternoon or early evening hours. Now, a lot of people will tell you for your emergency supplies, have lots of water, have some nutrition, have a first aid kit. And I get that. And I am a believer in those things. But please let me tell you that nothing really prepares you for how dark it can get out there and how cold it can get out there at night. And believe me when I tell you, it always seems a little darker and it always seems a little colder when you're not finding your vehicle that just 30 minutes ago you could find it because it was daylight 30 minutes ago, you could see it 30 minutes ago, and now you're not seeing your vehicle and you've been walking around for a half hour and you're not finding that vehicle. It always seems darker and it always seems colder when that happens. So I'm going to show you what I've got for kind of like a 12-hour supply in case you had to just hunker down, stay out there all night, and wait for dawn's early light and until you can safely see your vehicle again. At any rate, if you like today's video, hope you remember to click the like button, do subscribe, and turn on the notifications icon if you haven't already done so. And we're definitely looking forward to your comments. Thanks again. Here are pretty much the core items that I think you ought to have. Again, these are not everything that you need. These are just some core items that you would be wise to build around. We're going to unpack these items in a moment here, but you've got 2 flashlights, not just one, a multi-tool, toe warmers, Zippo lighter fluid. That's going to run each of these Zippo hand warmers. Power bar, probably should have more than one, but it's there symbolic to remind you of nutrition. Emergency water, they're only 4 ounces each, but again, they're symbolic to remind you to have extra water. You've got these pull start fires. We're actually going to test those in a minute. We're going to test these Coghlan fire discs in a minute to see if they actually perform as good as the label claims. Something to start a fire as well. I probably want to have some matches in there if you wanted to add anything. Pocket juice, something to power up that cell phone a few extra times. In terms of tackling the cold, I'm going to try to hit this from several angles. One angle that I really like is the Coghlan's fire disc. I like it because you don't have to use the entire disc at once. You can break it into small pieces and just use it for small individual fires as you see fit. So each disc could last 4 or 5 fires. Also, I like the pull start fire. And by the way, we're going to try out that fire disc and pull start fire in a few minutes here. On the pull start fire, it doesn't need matches. You've got a cord on that side, a cord on that side. In theory, you just give both of those cords a pull and it should start right up. It should run for about 30 minutes. At least that's what they claim. We'll be putting that to the test. In terms of keeping my hands warm, or just really anything warm, put it in your pockets and keep your thighs warm if you want to. Zippo hand warmers. These things burn hot. They burn hotter than the toe warmers. But I still like the toe warmers. I don't want my feet cold either. 3 sets of toe warmers in there. On the Zippo hand warmers, they run on Zippo lighter fuel. Why is lighter fuel good? Well, just in case the fire disc doesn't start up as good as I want or as fast as I want, or maybe I'm out of fire disc. You can always put a couple drops of lighter fluid on whatever I need to start up. Should start right up. Coleman lighter right there. I should probably throw some matches into this equation as well. In terms of flashlights, I couldn't settle on just one, so I decided to go with 2. They're both made by Coast. These are not terribly expensive, but they are a lot of flashlight for the money. You've got right here the smaller one is the G32. The larger light is the IPX8. In terms of what you get with these flashlights, let's just look at the label here. Let me read this off to you. The small flashlight has two brightness settings. If you run it on low, you've got 110 lumens for your output. If you run it on high, you've got 355 lumens. If you're running it on low, you can focus out to 73 meters, which is about close to 80 yards approximately. In terms of running it on high, you can go 132 meters, which is a little over 140 yards. In terms of runtime, if you're going to run this small flashlight on high, you're going to have 4 hours, 45 minutes of runtime. If you run it on low, 19 hours of runtime. If we switch into the IPX8, let's take a look at the label here. It's got 3 light settings. If you run it on low, it'll give you 115 lumens. If you run it on medium, you've got 380 lumens. If you run it on high, you've got 800 lumens. And then if you've got fan lights on each side, the fan lights give you about 265 lumens on each side. In terms of distance, if you run that thing on low, you can focus out to about 90 meters, which is about 100 yards. If you run it on medium, you've got 150 meters, also known as about 165 yards. If you run it on high, you've got 240 meters, which is, maybe 265, 270 in terms of yards. In terms of the runtime, you've got 7 hours of runtime on medium, 4 hours of runtime when you run it on high. And again, the high is the 800 lumens, the medium is 380. And then if you're going to just stick with 115 lumens, you can go 45 hours on that flashlight worth of runtime. In terms of the area light, if you're only running one area light, you've got 8 hours of burn time. If you want to run them both at the same time, you've got 3 hours, 45 minutes. One other thing worth noting about this flashlight on these fan lights or area lights on the side, you've got red, and then also you've got a red flashing kind of hazard I'm in trouble light on it. Make sure that you have an extra power source for your cell phone. This is not real expensive. It's just made by Pocket Juice. It's pretty good quality though. This will charge a cell phone 3 or 4 times over. Also, I would recommend having at least 2 of these emergency drinking waters in your pack. They're only 4 ounces each. That doesn't sound like a lot for everyday living, but when you're in the middle of nowhere, 4 ounces of water per pack seems like a truckload of water. I do recommend having more than just 2. These are just here kind of as a symbolic gesture to remind you to have water. Power bars, if you don't like power bars, pick your favorite protein bar, have a couple of those in the mix, and then have a good multi-tool with you as well. We're going to be testing out this Coghlan's fire disc. There's a small piece of a disc broken off that's just to the right of the main disc. We'll be attempting to light this up in a moment here. Looks like we've got some pretty good ignition there. We're about 1 minute and 20 seconds into the burn at this point. We're about 4 minutes into the burn at this point. At about the 12-minute mark, this is the Coghlan's fire disc. Granted, it's not really the full disc, it's just maybe 1/8 of a disc, but at about the 12-minute mark, it's not really burning, it is still smoldering. We're going to be testing out the pull start fire. As you can see, it has a green cord. It's basically a green piece of yarn. And then on the other side, it is a red piece of yarn. The green side is basically a big loop. that you can put around a log. Basically secure this to a log with the green loop, and then on the red side give this a harsh pull, real harsh pop to get the fire started. At least that's the idea. We'll see how that works. Probably about a minute and a half into the burn at this point. About 2 minutes into the burn at this point. We are now at about the 4.5 to 5 minute mark on the pull start fire. We are now at about the 22-minute mark for the burn time. We are now at the 29-minute mark.